The beginning of May is an exciting time not only for Star Wars fans, but also for fans of Hikaru no Go, a late 90s and early 2000s Shonen Jump manga about kids playing board games. While Hikago didn't exactly reach, One Piece status, it did enjoy a degree of success, and most fans really enjoyed it. I've never heard anyone say that it's bad. Like any other moderately successful Jump manga, Hikaru no Go spawned a handful of video games. You might have seen me briefly play one of them. I forget which one it is. It's one of the GBA games. Predictably, pretty much all the Hikaru no Go games are essentially just fancy Go emulators. But one of them reaches levels of that are matched only by its close cousin from another series who we'll discuss later. And that game is Heian Genso Ibunuroku. Before I can even explain why Heian Genso Ibunuroku is so fucking weird, I have to give a brief summary of Hikaru no Go for anyone who isn't familiar with it. It revolves around an East Asian board game called Go, also known as Weiqi or Baduk. I'm sorry if I butchered either of those words, because I don't actually know how they're pronounced, but anyway, basically, you've got this kid, Hikaru Shindo. He finds this creepy little Go board in his grandpa's attic. Turns out the Go board is possessed by the ghost of an ancient Go master named Fujiwara no Sai, and Sai becomes his mentor. They later meet Akira Toya, who is the son of a professional Go player. Hikaru decides he wants to be his rival, and he goes to school to become a professional Go player. And that's it. That's the show. Admittedly, it is really well written, and there's a bit more to it than just a one-paragraph summary. But it's still a pretty simple premise. It's just normal modern Japanese teens playing a completely normal board game. I'm not even joking. This isn't Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Inazuma 11 or anything like that. They're literally just playing a normal game. Aside from Sai being a ghost, the setting and characters are completely mundane. So here's where things get weird. Released exclusively in Japan in 2002, Hikaru no Go Heian Genso Ibunuroku is an RPG for the original PlayStation made by Konami. So have you ever read a fanfiction that was pretty good, but the premise and setting are so different from the source material that it might as well just be an original story? And I'm not knocking those kind of fics, because they definitely have their place, and I've written a few. But the point is, that's basically what Heian Genso is like. The game takes place in Japan's Heian period, like the name implies, which is the same period of history that Sai is originally from. And just like the original, Sai is a disgraced former tutor to the Emperor who was framed for cheating at Go. But in this version, instead of being banned from the capital and subsequently killing himself, he apparently only gets banned from the palace and lives elsewhere in the city. By every other character, though, completely different. Not really in personality, but their roles in the story and even in their names are different. Hikaru Shindo becomes Konoe no Hikaru, who's a cop? And Akira Toya becomes Kamo no Akira, who is an onmyoji, which I think in real life it's a type of priest, but as far as the game goes, he's basically a wizard, okay? And I don't think Toya-sensei is even his dad anymore. He's there, but I'm pretty sure they're not related. I think he might be Sai's dad. I don't know. It's weird, but I'm not going to go down that tangent. Also, Akira looks exactly like Haku from Spirited Away. It drives me crazy because all the time I'll see fan art and I'll be like, wow, cool fan art of Akira Toya from Hikaru no Go. And it'll be fucking Haku from Spirited Away. Or I'll see fan art and be like, wow, cool fan art of Haku from Spirited Away, and it's fucking Akira Toya. Anyway. One thing I do want to emphasize about Heian Genso is that, as far as I can tell, all the main characters are the same age that they are in the manga. So Hikaru and Akira are still 12. And also, when I say that this game is an RPG, I mean it very loosely. You'll see why in a minute. So the plot is that yokai are attacking the capital, and their attack locations are represented by stones on a fancy magic Go board at the palace. Hikaru, Sai, and Akira are tasked with getting rid of the yokai. Sai uses his Go skills to predict where they'll strike next, Hikaru beats the shit out of them with a magic sword, and Akira seals them away. And this is all represented through, yep, go. Go. To top it all off, for some reason you're competing with Zama and the Emperor's other Go-Tutor to get rid of the yokai, and pretty much every character from the original series shows up in some form or another, no matter how minor. And what's even weirder is that instead of like generic yokai, like just, you know, a Tengu or whatever, a lot of the yokai are actual like named spirits from Japanese mythology. So it's literally like, you'll show up at the palace and Akira will be like, alright, we're gonna go kill God today. And so you go to some fucking random corner of Heian-kyo, and there's like that mid-ass pro who sold the fake Shusaku board in that one episode or some bitch, and Hikaru's all, I'm gonna go kill you with my magic sword. And then you play them in Go, and then they're like, I've been defeated, and die. And you just do this over and over! It's fucking weird! And I know what some of you might be thinking. An early 2000s Konami RPG based on a manga about kids playing tabletop games, but instead reimagined as a real-world historical political intrigue where all the characters have different names, and combat is for some reason represented through the aforementioned tabletop games? That sounds an awful lot like Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelists of the Roses, a real game that exists for some reason. And you'd be right. In fact, both games were released within less than a year of each other, with Duelists of the Roses coming out in September 2001, and Heian Genso Ibunaroku in May 2002. Which is kind of weird when you consider that Duelists of the Roses is PS2 and Heian Genso is PS1, but whatever. Anyway, I can't confirm or deny if there's any connection between the two. After a fair bit of digging, I think both were produced by Satoshi Shimomura, but I can't find anything else to connect them. But still, like, what the fuck was going on at Konami in the 2000s? What is up with these games? All this to say, Heian Genso Ibunaroku isn't a bad game, and neither is Duelist of the Roses, honestly. Like, hell, Duelist of the Roses is probably one of the most interesting Yu-Gi-Oh! Games out there, and Heian Genso has some really damn good illustrations. Both games have pretty solid soundtracks, too. But boy...
If I had a nickel for every time...
Konami made a weird historical AURPG tabletop hybrid game based on a manga about kids playing tabletop games.
I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Please watch Hikaru no Go.